A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
Samaritans Perth is currently responding to Typhoon Yagi, which has devastated parts of northern Vietnam. When Typhoon Yagi made landfall on the 7th of September, it triggered flash flooding and landslides that tragically killed nearly 300 people and impacted over 200,000 homes. The Australian Office of Samaritans Perth dispatched 4 pallets containing 3,500 relief items, including water filters and solar lights, to affected communities. And these have been generously funded by supporters from Australia and New Zealand. And the Executive Director of Samaritans Perth Australia, Mark Bennett, joins us now for an update. Mark, welcome.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about this.
Yeah, this is a huge event, isn't it? 200,000 homes affected by flash flooding and landslides. It's almost hard to fathom, isn't it?
It is. It is hard for us sitting here in Australia. I mean, we're familiar with floods and we're familiar with bushfires, but Vietnam sometimes seems a long way away. And it has been in the media in Australia, but the impact on people living in northern Vietnam who are far more vulnerable in terms of the resources available to them. We're talking about whole villages being washed away. And when we think about Hanoi, the capital city that people may be familiar with, it's on the Red River, and it's a city of 7 million people. So if you think of that, it's a city of more people than in Sydney. And that whole city was underwater for part of that period. So it's been quite an incredible event, this typhoon.
Yeah, and I would imagine that as time goes on, there'll be more deaths registered, because if a whole village has been washed away, it's going to take some time, isn't it, to work out if people are dead or just missing?
That's right. And Samaritans Perth have been active in Vietnam for 20 years. So our Australian office actually works closely together with Samaritans Perth Vietnam office. And the area in the far north, a province called Lao Chai, is where we have some of our newer activities reaching out to unreached people groups. And so this is a real opportunity for us to demonstrate our partnership and our care in such a time of crisis.
Yeah, well, you've already sent 3,500 relief items, including water filters and solar lights, to the affected communities. But I believe that wasn't the only response from Samaritans Perth. Your American colleagues have also sent some aid as well.
Yeah, so Samaritans Perth, from our head office in the US, they have quite significant resources. So we actually have an aircraft, a cargo aircraft, and two plane loads of materials, including blankets, kitchen kits, and other essential items, have been sent over as well. So this really gives a great opportunity for our Vietnam office to engage with local communities and let them know that there are people from the outside world who are aware and care for communities in crisis like this.
Yeah, and what a great testimony or a great witness for Jesus and for his people, that there's just Christians that they've never met before, never heard of before, possibly just turning up with blankets and lights and water filters, and it must just do so much to break down any walls or opposition in people's hearts toward the gospel.
Well, that's the thing, Andrew, that Vietnam is a country with very limited Christian influence and witness. And engaging with local authorities, being present in the tough times and being ready to support communities in crisis really builds our opportunity for witness there. And demonstrating love in a time like this is a great way for us to build our profile and open doors that might otherwise be closed. So we love to be able to be there.
Yeah, I bet. And have you had any recent reports from your teams on the ground?
We're in touch with them each week, and so we've been tracking where the items that we sent last week are, and shipping them from Hanoi up to the northern part of Vietnam is a little tricky, but the items are there and our people are sending them out. So we haven't got any images and stories yet from the community, but we'll certainly be publishing those on our website when we have them.
Yeah, and I believe, Mark, you're even going to visit Vietnam yourself to see what's going on there?
Yeah, I'll be going there next month just to see how things are shaping up after the disaster, and to also look at the other projects that we're supporting there livelihood projects, clean water projects, education projects. So we want to continue our partnership with our Vietnam office and our brothers and sisters there. Yeah.
Yeah. So does Vietnam fall under the leadership or the sphere of influence of the Australian office? Is it part of your mandate here in Australia to look after Vietnam?
Yep. So Samaritans Purse internationally has a number of maybe 20 offices around the world, and Vietnam and Cambodia are two that we engage very closely with because they're our neighbours. And I mean, if you think about Australia, there's quite a significant Vietnamese community in Australia too. So it's important for us to demonstrate that we care about people in that part of the world and we're present. So, that's an important area for us to engage with.
Yeah, and a bit of history there too, isn't there? Because Australia contributed, quite significantly to the Vietnam War effort, which was an attempt to stop the communists from overrunning the whole country. It was a failed attempt, but still Australia made quite a significant sacrifice in the 60s and early 70s as part of that, Allied effort.
That's right, and we're still there, and we want to keep demonstrating to people there that organisations like Samaritans Purse stand with people in tough times.
Yeah, so tell me, you mentioned that there's you focus on livelihood packages, education, and water. What does livelihood mean?
Livelihood means helping people. So Vietnam has a population, it's unbelievable when you think about how small that country is compared to Australia, but there's about 110 million people live in Vietnam, in that very narrow stretch of land that's on that peninsula from the south up the eastern side looking towards China. 110 million people there.
That's a lot, isn't it?
It is. And many people have lived in rural settings as subsistence farmers. But as the world changes, they need income, and people trafficking and issues like that are a serious issue for people. Getting education for children, having an income so that they can actually find their way in the modern world is important. So livelihood activities, helping them to generate income from their land, beekeeping, there's a whole range of things that we're involved with there, just helping people to ensure that they have enough money to send their kids to school.
I love that. So it's the old adage, give a man a fish and you can feed him for a day, but teach him how to fish and he can feed himself the rest of his life. So you're really empowering local communities to become self-sufficient.
Yeah, people really respond to that and appreciate it. Handouts is one thing, but enabling people to build a livelihood in their own community really makes a difference.
Yeah, 100%. And I believe Vietnam is quite resistant to the gospel, that there's even evidence of persecution against Christian leaders and pastors there. So how does Samaritans Purse share the gospel in that context?
Well, as we've been talking about, being present and building relationships and demonstrating to local authorities that we're here and we're ready. In some respects, I guess people would talk about that as just starting to build a relationship. I can't really talk too much about it because it is a country that is a bit closed to the gospel, but being present and for our staff to be able to build relationships with people in communities is where that exchange takes place. And the building integrity and trust through demonstrating love is a way to really open opportunities.
Yeah, like for all of us, if you're present, the light shines and you are the salt of the earth, aren't you? Wherever you are as a Christian, you are the salt and you are the light, and God's just going to use our time wherever we are, isn't he?
That's right. And, aside from the things that we've just been talking about, a lot of people know about Operation Christmas Child. Well, and they will know what kind of a ministry that is. Well, we're not allowed to ship Christmas boxes to Vietnam because of the nature of their content. However, we collect money online through Pack-a-Box Online, and people can sponsor boxes being put together in Vietnam to go out to communities across Vietnam. So there are various ways that we're reaching out into communities in Vietnam. As I said, I don't want to use a few key phrases in case there are people who might...
I understand.
Find that a difficult
I understand.
thing. Yeah. So we want to be present. Being present and the identity of our people and the values that they hold, the ways that we can build relationships and make a difference.
Yeah, 100%. Well, so how would you like our listeners to respond to this? What would you like our listeners to do now that they've heard about these devastating floods? And if you're just joining us, just want to read out these stats again. They're horrible. 200,000 homes were impacted when Typhoon Yagi made landfall in northern Vietnam on the 7th of September. So far, we're aware of over 300 people being killed. I suspect that number will increase as the dust settles and people realise that some of their missing loved ones have actually passed away. So, Mark Bennett, the Executive Director of Samaritans Purse Australia, how can the average listener of Vision right now respond to this?
Well, certainly we'd love you to be praying for our teams, Samaritans Purse teams in Vietnam, and praying for the people that they engage with and the communities that are impacted. And go to our website, samaritanspurse.org.au. You can stay up to date with what's happening, and we'd love you to prayerfully consider financially supporting that engagement. The water filters and the solar lights that we've sent cost money. Shipping them there costs money, and we'd love you to partner with us in ministry.
Excellent. Well, Mark Bennett, Executive Director for Samaritans Purse, thank you for your time on 2020 today. And more importantly, we pray and we just hope that God uses Samaritans Purse, and I'm sure there's other Christian ministries there as well, to just really bring that healing and that possibly salvation to some of the victims of this devastating typhoon in northern Vietnam.
Great. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate the connection.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.